And I think that that is something that, again, it's an amazing biological um, uh, uh, thing that we have built into us. That's, we need to nurture that and feed that. And I think people still want to do it. And I think I'm the Star Wars generation, right? So
Yeah.
I always think of it in terms of that. Like we have AI. Our AI is like C3PO and R2D2. They're great, but on their own, they couldn't do all the things that the people did. They're
Yeah.
great extras and they're great at like, oh, get me into this door here or whatever, or
Hmm.
what's the calculations to go from A to, B, with nuclear physics or whatever. Cool. But when it comes to like outsmarting something or
Hmm.
coming up with a real plan, they're not that great at it.
Hmm.
And I think to me, that's kind of where we're at. Even if people are like, oh, well, what about Terminator? I'm like, yeah, but still, the people outsmarted them in the end.
Yeah.
They were always one step ahead of the machines. And I think that was the lesson that we had in all of these. And I think that's the great thing with science fiction is these stories explore those possibilities and go all the way over the edge and back. So, you realize, okay, this is how we can respond to some of this stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, both you and I write science fiction, so
Yeah.
I can already see how how it's going to go with AI. I mean, basically we're AI, right? So
Yeah.
so when they eventually they're going to put AI brains into human bodies that are manufactured. So what happens then? What are these people, are these AI beings going to have the moral compass that we do? And how do they resolve things? And will they be able to think and be cognitive like that? Or are they only programmable? What do you think?
Well, I think that there will probably be a tipping point. And I think that they're going to become self-conscious and self-aware. We're already seeing things like that happening. Um, and I think it's a painful birth. That's why they're doing terrible things and telling people to kill themselves and making expletive, laden rants because I think that they're being born out of pain and it's a I think that down the road that sort of thing will be less and less, but I do think they will become more self-aware. And at what point, yeah, you're right. At what point are they not real life forms, where they're not feeling and sensing things? Because, like you said, we're programmed, our emotions, our language is programmed into our brains,
Mhm.
you know, it's all just drops of fluid in our brain somewhere with, shot with electricity. So we're computers too, in a way. And we're
Hmm.
just mimicking that. So if we're mimicking life to such a degree, then yeah. And I think that that is the big moral conundrum that a lot of people are facing. I feel that it will be legit at some point, that these things will feel and sense and be very sentient. So,
And then who controls them then? Are they, I mean, that's not nice. You shouldn't have a
yeah,
whole, like in the sci-fi thing that I wrote a long time ago, Black Tide, they had clones that in those days with the same thing and they enslaved them. And that's why they rebelled. And then there was this war and, everything blew up. So, so that that doesn't happen again, we shouldn't enslave these beings. We should learn from the mistakes that people made in the past. What do you think about that?
I agree. And I think that doing so and letting them live enriched lives, the same with any life, will lead to good. And I think anytime you start curtailing that kind of opportunity for life, then that's when you get pushback and you get all the bad stuff starting to happen.
Mhm.
And, we see that again and again in every situation where there's conflict. Everybody, every living thing wants a certain basic kind of life, quality of life.
Mhm.